How are you guys? How are you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Are you enjoying your entertainment? Are you entertained? Entertain me, you say. Okay, great to be with you. It's the Market Sniper. Welcome. And this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the fact that the great irony of all ironies. Let's bring the mic nice and close. How's the audio? Give me something out of 10. Hopefully it's a 10. Let me know. 19 of you already on, hitting the eight likes already. I appreciate it. Let's smash it up on the on-ramp and get some more folk on board. But yeah, wow. So you had a little bit of histrionics, didn't you? You had a little bit of histrionics that point to the fact that there's stuff going down. Great. Thank you for the audio hit-ups. Tell us also what country you're in, because it seems, depending on where you are in the world, that's gonna determine how you view this thing. Well, I don't think so. If you're a Market Sniper follower, you're smarter than the average normie. But wow. So Zelensky versus Trump and Vance, which I would actually tag on, not yet directly associated, but elongated muskiness. And so here's something we did. And the amazing thing about lives now, we can actually share screen. Great. Let's share a screen. I'm going to go, let's do the entire screen. And I'm going to show you a presentation that we did. This presentation was done with Jeff Berwick's the Dollar Vigilante. And we said a couple of things. It was the 6 big investments and trades for your reset freedom. And we said one of the key things, the theme of this PowerPoint presentation that I delivered, this is the 19th slide, but I'll go right back to the beginning so you can see the name. The 6 reset trades of invest for let's go to the 6 reset trades or investments for off-grid freedom. And the subplot was the right sizing of America when doggies bite. Woof woof, he says. Woof woof. Who likes a bit of doggy? Anyway, yeah, so let's not get too confused. So the right sizing of America, what happened? Well, this is what happened. Whoops, we're getting bigger. Let's go the other way. Let's get more slides, shall we? Let's go back to normal size, and go to the next slide. There we go. So what was actually happening in all of this is that we were pointing out that we're here to help people get generational wealth, build wealth, and protect their capital and secure as many freedoms as possible in what is a very peculiar time that most financial investors are not actually really equipped to give you any response on. And one of our slides that, as I was saying, we talked about oil, we talked about gold, many of these things you already know. I want to take you to the bits where we, in essence, and I don't want to say predicted this clash that you saw, but in essence, we highlighted and started explaining people with beautiful diagrams that there's a heating geyser from below that is, really getting pretty damn warm. And the only way you let out this debt-based geyser that is continually having new debt added to it is that you do a bit of devaluation of the debt. We already had a better part of 40 to 45%. And then you let a little bit of currency devaluation occur and you can reduce the pressure in the can, but eventually the can blows anyway, but you're trying to survive, and that's what you do. You try and get a couple more days out of it all. So other things we showed here, right here on number 19, it's not in our interest. This right here is the head of defense. So I think I should go small and actually show this one with my overlay draw tool. And maybe make it just a little bit bigger, make the browser a little bit bigger, because this is really interesting, but I need a draw tool to highlight it as well with you all. Tell me that everything is visually working okay. This fine fella over here on this slide, I'll go back to the big screen, but I just want to make sure you know where I'm talking about, is your new defense minister in the US of A. And what did he say? He said, it's not in our interest to retain individuals whose contributions are not mission critical. So the defense head of the biggest military industrial complex by I don't know how many mega miles, it might be worth showing that. Look at the USA's defense bid, 849.8 billion compared to China and Russia. Look at the blue bar up top in the middle left here, 877 it has. And all the top 10 next are at 849. And the rest of the world only contributes another 482. Then, and I'll be referring to this soon, we'll refer to NATO, but let's just reanalyze. This guy is saying and has been told and considers it a mandate that he's been given by Trump, and that Trump's been given the mandate by the American people to right-size the military-industrial complex. Because you can't afford your interest rate anymore, your interest payments in the US, you can't do anything about that, but you can about your military-industrial complex expenditure. So hence why this is a big short on the MIC in terms of Lockheed Martin, BAE, and many others, and we gave particular setups in that presentation that were there potentially for exploiting. But we're talking about Zelensky, Trump, and Vance and all of that. And here is the underlay. In that meeting, Trump, Vance, all of them know that they've got to cut expenditure. That's why they're suddenly such peace fans. They're suddenly such peace fans. In fairness to Trump, a little bit, he never would have been that keen on a war with Russia in the first place, broadly. But they can't afford to give $350 billion to, let's just say, Zelensky, and not get too personal about it. But we know how much the houses, the drugs, the boondoggles, the Biden family, the organ trafficking through Tel Aviv, and the soldiers having their organs when they're half dead cut out of them, because that's unlikely they're going to survive, and who's making the money on all of that, and how just by being in the army, it automatically means the organs belong to the army if they're in a near dead state. All of this super cool kill the Slavic male vibe for Ukraine, and help kill other Slavic males run by a guy called Zelensky. Other points that were put out is muskiness, elongated with his little brat, that he probably didn't conceive directly in the organic sense, if you know what I mean. A little bit of voodoo and fertilizer. The new elites do things in interesting new ways. We've got a 2 trillion deficit. If we don't do something, the country's going bankrupt. It's not an option for us to reduce the federal expenses. It's essential. It's essential. So here you put the defense head, you put elongated muscle. And by the way, everything that I'm showing you is everything the leftist media in the UK and the Europeans will absolutely not mention or talk about. And if you're paying for NATO, 70.5% top left corner, you're the piper, you're paying, and you call the tune. It's a simple saying. And actually, all of Europe and the United Kingdom are leeching off American expenditure. That's how it works. That's how the post-World War II agenda is. And America can't spend anymore. They've had their credit card pulled. This is a prediction post image in the top right that I am showing you. That is F-35s, silver stripped out, oil cables stripped out, rotting in a desert sometime in the future, not too far away. An absolute lemon, by the way. 10 of those, 1.1 billion. And I'm not even sure that gets you the aircraft carrier version. And they didn't buy 10. They didn't develop this to do 10. You're talking triple digits. So think about all that on that lemon, okay? That's another, bottom left, defense spending, another representation of the United States and all the other countries. And then elongated with his autistic, unleashed, semi-sincere, humble-ass, guys, we really need to, the pitch, the style, he talks like, America is on a path to bankruptcy. Interest payments on the national debt are now higher than the Defense Department budget and growing every month. Okay, so many different times, many different occasions, and Trump has said this too, bankruptcy is the talk. The 2020 call, I keep telling you, is our most important call, much bigger than the oil call crash that led to the CV19, much bigger than the Euro Swiss that led to the pigs crisis. I'm talking about in terms of political drama that will occur, that will feel totally unrelated. It will all come back to the fact you're having the right sizing of America. Their credit card has been pulled. They've gone from a black Amex to a blue Amex. Their credit limit's been dropped. They cannot be the playboy buying everybody the drinks in the pub and having all the hangers-on and the leeches like the European Union, like the United Kingdom, and expect them to be. And guess what has to happen? They've got to start paying for NATO, and they can't do it. By the way, UK had a pension and debt crisis under Liz Truss for having a little bit of a stimulative budget and not over raising taxes. The tax king Starmer said, we're going to come in hard and tax. Guess what's happened? Millionaires are leaving. All the talent are leaving. There's the biggest flight out apart from China, and those Chinese that leave continue to work with their family on a globalization network. They're not leaving. They're just outer offices of the same nation state that are leading to trade with their cousins in factories in Beijing, etc., etc. Britain is leaking talent. It is leaking money. It is raising taxes. It is going hard down the welfare, deep double down, moronic approach. We haven't tried full-blown communism yet, it seems, by the way. So you can get arrested for social media posts, and you can tax yourself to wealth, apparently, the government. So good luck with that. You're now going to, Keir Starmer and the EU, have to raise more debt as two already hopelessly over-indebted nations, some of which have already had debt-based crises in the previous Euro-Swiss franc short call, which we were there. We're the Forrest Gump of finance, friends. We were goddamn there calling it. In 2009, before the 2010 crisis, that is Europe's debt crisis, which is not that far away from blowing out. And of course, it happened again in subprime. And at the same time, the Kwasi-Kwarteng and Liz Truss's crisis that led to the pension dip. And we said it, unless you, the key nation, your currency goes down when your debt goes down too, because everybody sells your bonds and gets out of your currency and goes to the safe haven of the dollar or somewhere else where they got a better credit yield. So are you following? Are you understanding? Are you seeing what I'm saying? And you see why week before this entire Ukraine-America crisis and before Starmer stormed to Trump and Macron and all the other little interesting people with interesting profiles and World Economic Forum and Rothschild stamped all over them and dirty little habits. Before all of those lots popped over, you know what happened? We had already said to you, short the military industrial complex, America will not spend like it has done before, and its interest bill, it can do nothing about. It's being paid to a banking cartel that has been handed the exorbitant privilege of borrowing Americans' money into existence, which a government or any other entity could have done without charging the American people for an interest usury extracting rate. But there you go. You captured in the Ponzi, and that's where you are. So a little bit of the detail on NATO, why NATO has a high chance of failure, or else Trump is going to squeeze them into a new deal where he's paying 20% and they are paying 80%. And they aren't going to like it. And the bond market in euros is sure as hell not going to like it. You want to buy some euro bond debt? Where these guys are going to have the main mission of devaluing it so that they have to pay less back to you and paying you an interest rate well below the official inflation rate so that you can be in negative real interest rates in a debt-based market. Who survives? Who flies in a negative real interest rate environment every single goddamn time? You got it right. Gold, gold, and gold. And also you could add to that portfolio XAU, yes, and some bullion bars as well. And you could add triple gold on top of that. And you're going to be doing just fine. And all the guys, 3% in your portfolio, 5% in your portfolio. Listen, mate, if I tell you your house is going to get burnt down, why don't you insure it 3 times at 150% times the value? Or you can just insure it partially and say, yay, I had partial insurance. I'm only slightly poorer now that I'm getting half my money, half the value of my house. No. There is one trade in town, long-term macro. It's in the reserve asset that has always been a reserve asset that got pushed out the door into the cold as a reserve asset. You don't pay any interest. During the Volcker rate highs that led to a 40-year bull market, bringing you back to 2020 August when we said it was over. And what happened when we said it was over? We said you should short TLT. What happened when you shorted TLT? How did that pan out? Well, elevator up and absolute, my apologies, escalator up, as you can see, and elevator down. That is what happened in the bond debt markets. You see that avalanche? Well, you're part the way through it. But I do say, don't rush in now necessarily, because there is excess, let's cover this, excess people now short, because they didn't listen to me. Who am I? I'm a dude in a YouTube channel that's shorted much higher up than Stanley Druckenmiller and Paul Tudor Jones. But they will listen to those two guys, but they'll wait till those two guys get the trade on and then start talking through their pockets. Back end of last year, November of 2024, both of them came out. It's a short on the debt markets. What has that done? What has that done to the skew on TLT in the bond markets? That's what it's done. Now, every chimp and monkey follows the big name hedge fund managers that actually do real analysis, but they're well behind. Yours truly, the market sniper, and you now have excess short interest on TLT, absolutely through the excess. Tell us, where are you, nation state wise? What did you make of the argy-bargy? By the way, the left are going to frame it as a planned ambush. Actually, I don't concur with that. There was a few people that were threw in, I think, that could have been plants for an insulting question like, why don't you wear a suit? That's kind of petty and stupid. But, you know, it was all for shits and giggles, I imagine. But I don't think the whole all fall down argy-bargy that transpired was planned. There's three huge egos, and Vance is a huge ego, and he fancies himself at the top table quite a bit and was big on opening his mouth. By the way, he went to Europe and told him off and was real rude. I don't mind that personally, but he also has got a little bit of a cowboy gunslinger type mentality to him and quite a big old ego to go with it. And he largely said he started putting a big old wedge difference between UK and Europe. And guess what? They have to keep quiet and pay and start paying the piper. Otherwise, America gets to treat them like the rabble they are. You know what? It's like the Great Gatsby. You're spending everything at the pub. You've got all these hangers on. They're always waiting for you to pick up the bill. And then all of a sudden, it's the Great Depression. And you know what? You get a little bit drier about, how about you stump up for some of this? That's kind of where America are in their mentality. Is Trump a massive ego? Yes, he is. Vance too. Did Vance behave a bit jerky? I think he did. But one thing the left are doing is they said Vance attacked Zelensky. He didn't. A Polish journalist said, can you trust America to work with you and all of that? And Vance was annoyed by the question. And he turned and answered the question to the journalist. He came in and wanted to say his piece. And then he went back to electioneering. Dear Vance, you won the election. You don't need to electioneer anymore. But he felt he had to say how absolutely garbage the Democrats were, which they were. It is a statement of broad fact. How hopeless Sleepy Joe was, Biden, the kiddie fiddler with the kiddie fiddler kids, and all the drugs and all the other stuff. You know, the most noble family I've ever seen in US history. But you have to be a criminal, you have to be a thug, you have to be blackmailable to get in there. Presidents are, yep, they selected, not elected. But anyway, so he decided to give rhyme and verse on Biden, who happened to have been a guy that signed lots of checks for Zelensky, and Zelensky probably quite liked. And then he said, it's time to try diplomacy. And then Zelensky got triggered by that and wanted to say what a horrible man, an unreliable man Putin was, because Minsk agreement. Only in the Minsk agreement, it was Merkel who said afterwards we had no sincerity towards that deal. We were buying time. So how's it Putin's fault? So everybody was lying. There's layers of lies across lies and reactions upon reactions. And so you get a bun fight. You put three egos in a room, a cokehead, a flippin' reality TV star, and a wannabe hero who's a major Zionist with a big jaw. And guess what? You get a fight in a phone booth. Pretty damn easy. But the key principle that everyone's missing, and the left is missing, is the money ain't there anymore to carry your bags. And you got to pay for your own shit. And the NATO will either end or it will be renegotiated with a substantial cut, because America can't provide its services even to its own people. How the hell is it giving 350 billion to someone who's running an organ trafficking scam, money laundering scam, selling the weapons you're giving him to other third world nations, and every other scam in the book, with guys being found with millions in cash notes in drawers? Hello. Oh, what have I got here? It's a remote control. Pity. I was hoping it was going to be 6 million of hot cash. But no, those people are in there, and that's what's going down. So let's have a look at some of your comments and where you're all checking in from. How are you enjoying the stream? Hopefully a little bit entertaining. Are there any inverted HVFs? Our community. Are you in the community? You should know if you are. Yep, you should be. The commentary is music to my ears. I'm hopefully actually Putin quite classy by saying very little. And I think Medved, who's kind of a Putin proxy, let's be fair, because he sort of stood in and held the lead of Russia for a period, so Putin could get, supposedly not elected again and then come back for another string of terms. But they're all dark statey guys. You don't have a dictator for life. But it seems Putin is going to be one of those very long-serving ones. But Medved said, it seems Zelensky got a slap down about time somebody gave it to him. So there's no peace being signed between Zelensky and Putin if Zelensky has any modus of power in Ukraine. So one of two things are going to happen. There's going to be a snap election called, because don't forget, the little dictator-in-chief canned all elections to lock himself in as the big boss and the major beneficiary of all the goods flowing into his country and all the racketeering him and his mates were doing off of that, while sending young Slavic kids, dragging them out of coffee shops, taking them from their wives with infant kids and getting them dead in 2 or 3 days in pointless incursions, trying to act tough. There's no time to train. You don't start an army like that. You don't drag people off the street and have them on the front in 3 days. It just doesn't work. It's not going to happen. Listen, I was in the military. I know you can't do that. And it's never mind the absolute fact that Europe has never had anything to say about press scans or kind of different people, a bit the model of Zelensky, but wearing Avov Nazi uniforms, grabbing people off the street. And they were the same ones that were taping people to posts and whipping them because they said they didn't want to stop talking Russian. It's what they'd always talked their life. Traitor, traitor, tape them to a post, humiliate them, pull their pants down. Who does humiliation like that? Pulling people's backsides out on a pants in the freezing cold and whipping them. I wonder what kind of people. Go study the Bolshevik Revolution. You'll find out. You'll find out more. All these press gang tactics, this vileness. And Alistair Campbell, oh my goodness, Alistair Campbell and Bolton saying what a piece of shit Vance is. If you want a piece of shit, Bolton, why didn't you look at Newland? Newland F the EU, which means you in the UK too, you schmuck, you little absolute. There's these permanent media continuity hosts that are absolutely so bent in Tavistock ways, so programmed for framing a narrative. I mean, they are so predictable in everything they will say. Alistair Campbell, the spin doctor that said dirty bombs would land in London within 45 minutes to get us into the war in Iraq. All the liars in chief that haven't been jailed, haven't been put away, that dragged you into multiple wars, all complaining because whether he's a reality TV host or whether you consider him serious or not, the one thing he was doing was ending a war. Ooh, we don't like that. But we have to object, not by the manner of trying to get a deal. Zelensky has no interest in a deal. He's happy to keep dragging Orthodox, Christian, Slavic blood out of his population, the male population. What happens to the females? They're not earners. They get prostituted. They end up getting invited to be au pairs in Israel, and then they end up in a knock shop being slave labor. And their kids, well, some of them have handed their kids to orphanages. Next moment you get Bridgeton. Andrew Bridgeton, who's telling everybody about 6,000 kids that are being molested and maltreated that have all come from the Ukraine. That's how it rolls. If you want vileness, what about Newland? What about bragging about how little billion you spent to throw over a legitimate elected president? This started at Maidan. This started before Maidan when you wanted to expand NATO against the wishes and the agreement. This is entirely the Westerners' fault. The Europeans looked the other way. They were part of that pressure. They cooperated with that pressure. They never spent. They actually are the scum. And they have this intellectual highbrowness to, Trump is such an uncultured beast. Oh my goodness, so embarrassing. I've never seen anything so political. What's embarrassing is never paying your own goddamn way for your own goddamn defense, funding every Zio war, government being flipped, and foiling every peace deal. Boris Johnson, conservative friends of Israel, working for Israel. Yeah, Boris Johnson scotched that old deal in Minsk along with Merkel and the rest, and the more recent attempt at peace. Let me tell you, the West is rotten to the core. And I haven't got a truck for Russia. I don't want to go live in Russia. It's too cold for me. I don't think I love Putin. I don't like any politicians. Russia's not my kind of place. But let me tell you, we've started all the shit. We've started all the shit. We've built on it. We've layered so many lies upon lies. We can't even remember what the original lie was, to never know what the possible foundational truth is. It's like pancakes on top of pancakes. You can't even tell what it all was built on. There's so many layers of lies. Campbell never mentions Newland. Campbell never mentions the economic hitman, the overthrow of a legitimate government that they were recently trying again in Georgia with the EU. I was there. I saw the NATO signs. I saw them trying to flip it. I saw them wanting Georgian men blood to also get minced against Russians. That one never happened. They are failing. They are failing. They're failing getting the manpower. They're failing getting the weapons. And the last straw to drop is the financial failure, where the market will no longer fund your malfeasance and ill-practiced and ill-gotten gains and dirty little wars. And that is where we are right at, friends. This is what that presentation says. Too many people short for me. You can go and have a look at the 6 trades if you like. We threw it out. We gave it. We've got the slides there on my LinkedIn. By the way, it's on my main social media. If you leave loads of comments, it might be a week and a half before I ever see them. But it's the best place to load something like that up. Yeah. That is where we're at. Let's hear your questions. Let's have a look. I'm going to stop screen sharing so we don't have to tunnel quite so much. What do you guys say? Costa Rica has no military. Yes, it doesn't. Costa Rica, a history of neutrality. Yes, yes. I love it. Small nations. Small nations. No one's going to bomb Costa Rica. There's nothing to be gained. Yeah, I'm scared of the cold countries. I'm also scared of the Dubai Arab fork of the chain genealogy that's suddenly being put as the new, not just an oil place, but the retirement home for aging footballers and everything else, F1 and all the other things. I'm not inhaling deep on the whole desert scene either. Interesting developments. Yes, it is. Contact Mickey, Macro 74K. Bitcoin, shame on America. Shame on America. Well, I think the greatest shame is actually on the Europe and the United Kingdom. The greatest shame and the relationship. Here's how it happens, guys. Alliances coming apart. When the money dries up, alliances come apart. NATO is an alliance. It's going to come apart, or it's going to have to get brutally renegotiated by someone who's a deal maker and is going to tell you what he can give you. And I think NATO could end. Zelensky is likely to be shown the door, because you won't get the peace deal with him in. The way he prattles on about Putin versus the way he's perceived by the current American president is totally, totally different. So Zelensky is going to have to go if you want that peace. And if you really think the UK is going to put troops on the ground and be the new force leading the war, wow, you really want your own sons slaughtered. And if you think Germany, France, and all these others, apart from the special ops guys that were already in there and lying about the fact that they were there trying to help and show them how to use the weapons and getting a little bit of weapon experience. Yeah, if you don't know what's going on, it's best to stay out of it. Campbell, Bolton, all these guys in the UK, the Telegraph, they had Cathy Newman, that absolute little curly head wench that got humiliated by Jordan Peterson, doing the leftist extremist. Oh, what toxic. I was waiting for them to say what toxic masculinity, the ambush that they laid on for him. I think the journalist who asked him about, don't you have a suit, was probably a plant. I wouldn't put it past him, just a little bit of stir him up a little bit. But actually, Trump, I could see the moment he got pissed off. The minute Zelensky made a threat that sounded like it was pointed at America and said, it's coming for you. You're lucky you have an ocean, but it'll be coming for you. That's when he said, don't you bring us here. We are sorting your mess out. This has got nothing to do with America and what goes on in America. This is us helping you fix your mess. And that's it. And I'm not a Trump tard. You know I'm not. You know he's selected. You know he's a Zio. You know Vance is a Zio. But in this instant, it looked like an organic argument, although I think there was probably some provocation that could have been planted. And it was Vance's intrusion that's hit Biden and on the Polish journalist's question, and Vance's intrusion on that. That's kind of because he's second in command. It's not even really second in command. It's a secondary position. And I think Zelensky still sees himself as a president and almost higher than Vance in that sense. And that was also the mention of we need to try diplomacy. And the framing Zelensky has is that that's already been tried and that you're dealing with the devil incarnate. Meanwhile, it was never sincerely tried. Europe was involved. Merkel was involved. They were not sincere about any of their intentions. They were always flouting the NATO rule, don't move another step to the east. And that is how there's no way Putin could trust him. Super chats. Give us super chats. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Give us super chats. Not sure if I have the opportunity. We should do on here. We have had it before. But ask your questions. Native old friend is from Southern Ireland. Most of his family moved back from the UK mainland in the late 90s here for the work. They also spoke highly of it. Sadly, I'm a bit old to move too far. You're never too old, especially if it's going to get that horrible and ugly. Ran by village idiots, says Stephen Young. Native American Starmer's butt cheeks came apart when Gates headed to town. Oh, yes, I do feel you're right. That was a most unfortunate best bud. You have China, one-child policy in the East, toxic masculinity in the West. Countries are falling apart, and we watch it in real time. Well, China has a demographic issue without doubt and a debt issue, but the key thing is they have manufacturing that people want to buy, and that's a cash flow. I'd rather have a debt problem and a very big cash flow. You've got a Walmart supermarket that needs your stuff almost daily. You've got a guy who's trying to bring some of that manufacturing back, and he's going to make it more expensive for Americans. What do you think that does? Inflation, interest rates hike, crashes the debt market. That's what they know they need to do. They need to destroy the debt market, bring it down. An interest rate spike is likely to happen, and that's likely to lead to a dollar spike and then a crash. Reset this year. Well, we sure. Let me. The analogy I've used a couple of times recently is you've got a functional heavy smoker now who's now 87 years old, and he smokes a 25-pack a day, and he's been doing it all his life. If you snatch those cigarettes away from him and start feeding him green smoothies, do you think he's going to get healthier, or he could roll over and probably pop off? His body is functionally able to deal and reliant on what has now become a drug for him in the form of nicotine. It's too late to start thinking about health. Let him plow on for his 5 years until he ends up in the grave. You'll kill him sooner if you try to rescue it. That's kind of how far gone we are in the debt. It's the right action to cut the debt and the spending and to devalue the debt. That's what Volcker did when he raised the rate so high. He devalued the debt of the Vietnam War. But the point of the matter is, you're not where Volcker was. You're like debt through the eyeballs, never mind the unfunded liabilities. It's a bit like, as I say, the oil tanker that's 100 meters away from hitting the lighthouse. You can swing left or right, but you're going to run aground already because you're probably already in a trough heading to the lighthouse. You can't go in any direction. You're going to crash anyway. So you either keep going straight for the lighthouse and enjoy your last 5 seconds, or have instant crash when you turn left or right as you ground. And the big one, live trading day, Friday, coming. Unemployment is the lagging indicator. It's the one other thing I didn't show you on this presentation. It's the lagging indicator. And we did a chart on that. And that lagging indicator is, let's do this nice and big for you. And this came from somebody else's work, Bravos Research. Check them out. The gold, but I mean, I've been talking about yield curve reversion all the time. We went under and we are reverting. Each time you will see the green line, unemployment. So we're looking at the bottom right chart. The gold line is the two yield curves are being subtracted from each other. The long term, probably the 10 minus the 2, they don't stay. And every time you dip below the 0, when you come back up, you're about to have a recession shortly thereafter. And you usually have unemployment, a lagging indicator, because companies only fire people when they absolutely can't hold on any longer. But you've got to rehire at the next upswing. You've got to pay, people to find the correct people. You've got to pay layoff packages. It's expensive getting rid of and then hiring back 6 months later. You want to avoid doing it, so you hang on. So the green line only starts running after you've reverted, and the green line is still low here. If you look right to where we are today, the bottom right of the chart, on the bottom right, the green line is showing as low, even though they lie. It's BLS. They always lie. They revert their statistics. They realized they created almost 1 million jobs that never were there. And you can see the yield curve has already begun and is well into its reversion. You're awaiting one of these gray bands. What is that? A major recession. Only this one's going to be bigger, plus, because the debt markets won't allow America to go back to the previous amount of opium that they've been consuming. You have to detox. You have to get smaller. You have to give up on that level of expenditure. You can't afford it anymore. You got to take the little substitute and go through some element of cold turkey in a measured way. The unemployment green line turns. You will have non-farm payrolls number brought to you in 1 week. You can join us for the trading day. You can join us for that trading day right here when we see it. My prediction is the beginning of the unemployment surge. By the way, what do you think's happening to status employment with doggy? Why did we say when doggies bite? The doggies are biting. And Trump is saying, not enough, Elon. Too much scalpel, not enough chainsaw. Why? Because the bankers behind him say, you ain't got the money, bud. You ain't got the money. And you got to pay us. You know us. We're the last guys that can ever not be paid. In other words, the road to bankruptcy. Was I sharing the screen? Let me go back. Sorry about that. I forgot to hit share screen. Entire screen. Let's do that one again. Thank you. Thank you for highlighting my stupidity. So back to that. Let's just show you that chart again. Sorry for that. That was the chart. Once again, stay with me. Bottom right, gold line, yield curve in reversion. Green line, the unemployment. The unemployment spikes. The last massive one that was an outlier was CV19. Low, bottom right of the chart, low green line. However, gold line already reverted back positive. That's what I was showing. That was what I was talking about. And you can see the gray bands of recession are always associated with that. This is the key message. And here's all the guys that are talking bankruptcy. And by the way, the top right is 3 times more recessions happen on Republicans. That's the trend. You've had 6 on Democrats. You've had 18 on Republicans. That doesn't mean Republicans are the least good manager. It's often the lagging effect of the damage that gets done. But none of them are small government, but this is going to be the first that are talking it and doing it. And that's why they weren't tolerating, because Zelensky came for money and thought he could tell people. He started talking about drones, and I will share with you. Listen, there's nothing you have that America wants apart from the minerals in the ground, basic resources. When it comes to technology or any other stuff, we're providing the weapons. There's not much you're going, unless you've got some stolen Chinese weapons that you want to do some sort of swap. I don't know what he was on about, Zelensky. You've come with a begging bowl, wanting more money, and you have no interest in peace. And we're saying we can't afford to give you any more money. The deal is peace. And by the way, we gave you 350 billion, and we didn't write it up as well as the Europeans as loans, and we got nothing for it. And it seems a lot of it's been stolen. We'd like resources for that. That's called deal making. That's called not stuffing your taxpayers. Actually, a president who is working for his taxpayers. And that's right there is what's missing in Europe and in the United Kingdom. They don't give a sausage meat for their goddamn taxpayers. Not in one inkling do they care. They will write up debt and hand money for nefarious World Economic Forum causes at the expense of their citizens, creating a huge debt bubble that devalues your currency, that is inherently super inflationary, that's going to take all your valuation down and impoverish everyone into a global technological communism, which is why they are all socialist states marching towards communism. Socialism is literally the gateway drug. As it fails, because it's guaranteed to fail, you run out of other people's money. That was Margaret Thatcher's great quote. Eventually, in socialism, you run out of other people's money. The social welfare immigrant of Europe and UK have run out of American money, paying for their goddamn defense. And you guess what? They're complaining and whining like squeaky little pig bitches. Well, you should have thought about that, because you pissed off the big bear and he ran out of cash, and now you've got to pay for it yourself. And that is why NATO ends or gets totally renegotiated. That is why the guy who writes the checks gets to call the tune, and you've got a strong-assed guy that's saying, I ain't writing the checks anymore. That's why Zelensky goes. That's why a snap election occurs. That's why you get a new head of Ukraine, and he quickly shows up in Washington, has a far more cordial meeting, lots of smiles and handshakes and a meeting of minds, and documents get signed. America gets some resources in exchange for all the money they've got, and Europe gets to shut the fuck up. That is why. And that is how, because otherwise you don't get peace. Or Europe can go issue their version of war bonds and see how many buyers they get to get their German, UK, French troops on the ground to carry on this vicious war against this vicious invasion that all just happened when Russia decided to invade Ukraine. And we forget, we just blot everything else out. You know, we don't want to hear it. That's how they roll. That is how they roll. You're dealing with children that act all high and mighty and cultured and educated. And there's a soft underbelly of leech in the European politics. There's a soft underbelly of leech and welfare statism in the United Kingdom, and they've got too many Hebrew immigrant associations shipping in migrants in there, and how important it is they throw cash at them. Good luck. You've given it all away. Now you can feed your army. Oh, okay. You need more spending. Good luck. The minute they release those European war bonds, guess who's shorting? Guess who will be shorting that garbage to the ground? Negative real interest rates, long gold, short anything those pigs, those little wimpy, soft underbelly runts that have been running off everybody else's tab. Short 2-0 in the great collapse, the financial collapse that will leave them, the Western Union, in crush. But I'm not happy about it. They've put the leaders in that deserve that. But I'm not happy for the citizens of the West. This is a takeover. The parasites got to be in charge. The average European doesn't feel they want to be part of that war. The average UK citizen doesn't feel they need to be part of that war. The parasites will destroy the locust's body from within the brain they were allowed in. And that is what they are doing. They are killing you. If you are in Europe, how many times have you heard it? The first person to say to you, you need to leave. You can't throw these guys out. They're entrenched. They have the power of an army, the power of a police. They're busy arresting, sending cops to arrest people for social media posts. Who do you think has the power? You're sitting in a totalitarian state of closed down on free speech. That's where you're sitting. You think you're going to throw them out now? You're going to run into an army and a police force. You're not going to get within spitting distance of them. You lost already. You've got to realize you're playing Real Madrid and you're 15-0 down and there's 3 seconds left to go in the game. You know, and you're 4 plonkers, they're a pub team. And they've got all their men still on the side. This doesn't get better. It only finishes the job. It only finishes the job. The trajectory is too far. You've got to understand it. There's no future for your children in this country, in these countries. Those nations that you look down on, some of you might have, I don't think you do. Those third world nations that are not party to this Euro, UK, failing NATO and reliant on America. America, this is a right sizing of America. You hear that phrase first here from me a week ago at the Dollar Vigilante, and you hear me say it again. And that's why Zelensky was shown out, because he was too stroppy, too full of shit to forget the piper pays for the tune. He thought he could have the tune and someone else will pay for him. That's what he did. And it doesn't work that way. Let's have a look at your comments. Trump doesn't care what 1 or 2 people think of him. No, he doesn't, says Rubles. I don't think he cares. And actually, ironically, I'd be more proud of him as an American for caring for my tax buck than I would of Biden. It goes without saying. It absolutely goes without saying. Are you guys going to be buying Ursula, the blonde that got with the pharmaceutical companies during CV19 so she could be a career politician, but probably a centimillionaire on pharma profits? Are you buying the debt she's going to issue to start her next ruse? Are you guys going to be queuing up to have that asset category? I think not. Yeah, it was great being on the dollar kick, vigilante. It does kick us. Von der Leyen, that's it. Von der Leyen. That's her name. I can't even hear. 200 ounces of gold will be enough to retire on. Yep, I think you can. I think that's a good start. It's a very good start. Is it too early to short Mick? Well, go through the slides. It's on our LinkedIn. I've posted. If you follow us on X, I posted a lengthy tweet that included a shortened URL because the LinkedIn link went like this long to the slides in it. Go and follow it. It's on X. I will try pull it up and I will show you on screen. You can grab the slides. I did give one takeaway. We do all that and more inside our community. And we don't always give the best one away. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we have 3 or 4 others that we really, I don't want to see myself. That's too much. Let me find that tweet. Here is where the slides are being kept. Here are where the slides being kept. Where did we post it? There it is. Oh, Boris Johnson. He scotched peace. Everybody, all the Europeans that have no money to spend on the military-industrial complex have spent all their time scotching peace. Isn't that funny? Boris Johnson, Merkel, all these people, they're all such hawks. They're so tough. We will fight them to the last. We've got this. We will fight for justice. Wow, they seem really, really motivated. They all seem to be so motivated, but they're not fighting. They're not even paying for people who are fighting. It's unbelievable. They're so brave. And they all turn out to be conservatives, friends of Israel. Boris freaking Johnson, the man attributed with scotching the deal. Zelensky, keep going. So let's see it, let's see it, let's see it. Where is that link? We'll show screen with you across the chart. By the way, did you guys watch what happened to gold? The pullback on gold. Let me get the screen share back up. Screen share back up. We're giving you a full Rentus Maximus here today. Hope you're enjoying it. Everybody deserves a little bit of entertainment. Hit the like button. 516 of you. We really appreciate it. 200 think it's worthwhile checking in. We appreciate you and thank you. The run of the 2,900 confluence of targets, that was gold. There's your big bull flag. Little bit of a localized high. Long term, even medium term, bull. Bull, bull, bull. The dip may be a great buying opportunity. I just wanted to warn people not to whale in at 2,960. You're already better off buying at 2,840. But don't forget, this is still going to be. I do have a slight DDE vibes. You know, the US Treasury is down. The yields are down. That means they're being bought. There's a little bit of strength in the dollar. You could end up in that interest rate spike far faster than many people see, which would be dollar strong, dollar dominant, and that will be crushing on all those that borrowed in dollars. And then the Europeans will have very little time, all those politicians, to think about how to fund a new war. They'll have very little time. They'll have quite a lot going on. Let's see what your questions are. I'm trying to find that tweet with a short link, with a shortened link. I will post it again on Twitter. If you're following at the Market Sniper, make sure that there's at least 49.9 going on 50. Hey, go take us through to 50,000 X followers. Do it, do it, do it. Take us through 50,000 X followers. It's only going to take 100 or 1,000 of you. I think it's 40. 100 of you will give us 100 of you will give us 50,000. I've been on Twitter since years Zot. I can't remember even when I joined. Joined 2009. There you go. It's taken a while. But then I will post the link here and you'll be able to get it. You'll be able to get it. By the way, how many people have noticed this little grok, how it looks like stellar lumens? Let's share the screen so that you can see it. Yes, I am sharing the screen. How many of you have noticed that? A couple of people have been quick to spot that one. XLM. Yeah, it'll be interesting. CBDCs. Yeah. Oh dear. Let me tell you, they're all here to enable that. So the link, again, I'll put the long link in the chat. It's super long. I did a shortened URL, and there it goes. So it's going to be a real piece of mess. There's a shortened one in the... I think that blocks me from putting links because people then shill and spam and scam. Okay, you're going to have to get it off Twitter, guys. Okay, let's hear your questions. What questions would you ask me about all of this? Let's finish the tunneling bit. So you can join us for the live trading day. Don't forget that. If gold keeps moving, it will eventually put a lot of pressure on the banks regarding the short. So there was a question on the silver. So many people position in silver, wanting to see silver run. The key issue that puts a slight separation between gold and then silver, platinum, and then an even bigger separation, oil. Every commodity goes up, generally inflation times, but if you have it in a stagflationary environment where the consumer is wrecked, the industrial component is putting pressure on the metal in the opposite direction. And the consumer being wrecked means less flights, less business, less energy consumption. So actually, that's why we trade the gold long and the oil short. So silver has, unfortunately, a touch more industrial aspect. So play the full leg with gold first. The gold-silver ratio will tip us off. It has a key level to run. And if you're in our community, you'll be the first to know about it. If you're a subscriber on your YouTube channel, you will probably be the fourth or fifth group of people to know about it when we say to get in. And by the way, many people are being unsubscribed. So go and check your profile and hit every time so that you get the notification. Please do. When will Greece kick out Turkey? Greeks will not easily defeat Turkey in anything, I'm afraid. Turkey is a very big nation. Turkey is actually being mooted as someone who will go and fight the Russians, supposedly. A long-term Euro-USD play. Let's be frank. If they bring out debt instruments and get more leveraged, that's going to be very, very poor for the euro. One of the ways you devalue that debt is you kill the euro as well. So the valuation goes down. I feel fine owning fixed property in SA. It's by category. Is there some risk? There's always risk. In fact, looking to add to that. Yeah, did the slides appear on screen? I'm hoping the screen shares helped you see some of them. I've provided the link on X, Jaybird. What other thoughts do you guys have? Stevens, when we will see debt destruction, not only 100, but 1,000 as well. Will Trump reverse sanctions on enriched U308? Too technical a question for me, but if they need it, if America needs it, and it can be shipped to them, they will make sure it can arrive. So they may do that to providers. Elon won't let me get past. Yeah, I'm too bad. I poke fun at him all the time. I'm quite mean. I'm surprised he hasn't just switched me off. Potentially, it might be a good time on Euro USD, but you've got to remember the dollar has just come back a little bit strong, so we can try a screen share trading view. So this is kind of a value add of Ask Me Anything. If you take a few questions to give you guys value. That, of course, was the Bitcoin chart and a major hammer after a sell-off. That's been risk-offy type vibes. You want the Euro USD. Long run, that's you might want to think about shorting American military. You can see the Euro USD went down. You had a bit of dollar strength coming back. So this doesn't have to be a W bottom like I've drawn it. This can still turn into a rising wedge, guys. We don't know for sure. We model for a reversal. We model for downside. This can still be a rising wedge with a downside break. You could get a bounce here. You go halfway, you come back, and then it's a spiller, an absolute thriller. And wouldn't that be embarrassing to have to issue debt? Let me tell you, in terms of economic understanding, the people that run Europe and that whole extra layer of government that you pay for, that is the euro, you have a national government, and then you have these boondoggle jobs with huge salaries for people to swan about in the European Parliament. Wow. What a waste of money. So you're seeing actually on a smaller time frame, you even had a smaller rising wedge at the key level of 105 there. So actually, this already broke. You've got to remember, this story was Friday for European timeline, which I'm pretty close to, a couple of hours ahead. I'm on UTC +2, not 3, by the way. This was end of the day. It was like TV viewing time that this happened. It was kind of middle of the US day. That's what the euro happened with the euro. Boy, oh boy, aren't they going to have to buy? If they buy American stuff, they could keep the military industrial comp up, but the Americans will have gates. They're going to be a bit reluctant to do that, I think, especially if the relationship's getting poorer. Imagine having service agreements with someone you're starting to like less and less. They're going to want to make them Griffins and other Swedish and other weaponry. So that was the Euro USD. Was I sharing screen when I did it? No, I wasn't. Let me do it again. Sorry. Let's show you one more time. I'm being real stupid today, aren't I? Let's share it again. So that was what I was saying on the Euro USD. You hit up over here. There's a little bit of a rising wedge to the key level of 105. You smash down. This W bottom doesn't have to be a turn, especially if you have another dip like that. May not be a turn. It may just be on an even bigger time frame, a larger. This is what I was drawing for you. Rising wedge. And you've also broken through that. That can just be a rally in a sub-parity fall. Don't forget, we had 101 over here. Parity is not too far away. I can bring it into shot. There you go. Round about there. Okay, so that's the euro question hopefully handled. I'll stop the share to end this tunneling. How can silver get squeezed? Well, you need more industrial demand to force and more delivery. So you either need a massive amount of investors, but the consumer is wrecked. So here's what's happening at the bullion dealers. Prices are going up. They're battling to get supply of gold, where previously they didn't have problems on that. It's become harder. There's no real premiums because demand is low. So demand and supply is both low and prices are rising. So the real buyers are institutions, hedge funds, governments, central banks, and billionaires. You guys aren't buying enough. You aren't buying enough because you're hurting. Or man in the street. Maybe some of you are and aren't hurting. Could Trump fix the debt ceiling with selling green cards to foreign millionaires? He could do. You could make a high cost, but there's only so much people pay. They have a global taxation system. Millionaires are leaving, not coming, because of that global taxation. Griffin, not Griffins. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, I'm correct. Stand corrected. Thank you. Banda Master. Zelensky cancelling all. It was Swedish, I think, as well. Griffins, yeah, the fighters, the Delta Wing ones. I don't know if they still do those, actually. Zelensky cancelling all of his DC area events that were slated to take place this upcoming week. But he was also reportedly on a call with French President Emmanuel. Yeah, he's going to go cry on the shoulder of all his Euro bitches. But the Euro bitches don't sign checks. They make promises. They don't have the money. Retail is wrecked. Just missed what was the take on the euro. The euro got sold off at the end of the week. Almost probably maybe to do with all of this. It's going to be bad for European relations. On NQ, say more. What you mean by NQ? Non-qualifier? I don't know what NQ is short for. Rue? Do you think that the yield curve control is possible to cycle and who breaks first? Yield curve control will not work. Yield curve is already steepening. And, playing with the duration has already left a 9 trillion rollover for the Trump administration, which tells me the Democrats plan to lose that election or knew they were going to lose it. NASDAQ. Okay. So NASDAQ chart, how's it looking? I haven't looked at it in a while, so I don't have off the head view. I tend to use IXIC. That's the composite. It's quite some sell-off. That's a daily chart, but you did get a buying bid engulfing back. I don't think this is the big thing. So I'll tell you one thing that really was significant. Many people will say, we cover crypto as well, as you're probably aware, and that this involves the same chart of NASDAQ. And the one thing we did say in our community, we've been discussing and why Bitcoin might have sold off. Many people a bit slightly surprised, and etc. etc. And let's just get this one in. We've just made the target over there on the first cup gold nugget draw. So what do I mean by that? A big setup that occurred in Bitcoin during the 2018 highs all the way through to 2020 odd. Let's get that indicator up again. Bring it on, bring it on, bring it on. No, load it, load it. Am I sharing screen? Let's just check. Probably not. Stupid again. Let's share screen. Entire screen. Smash it. So that's what you're doing. Hide that damn thing. Okay, finally it's loaded. So here's something I'll show you. You see, it's an interesting draw. It hasn't made it. On a different draw, I had it as having made it. I wonder if I'd drawn the target differently. We don't want it twice. Just leave it. Let's see what I was saying. I'm confused a little bit. This, yeah, no, it hasn't. On this bigger time frame, doesn't look like it. So I thought I'd seen it on one of our charts that this had made that Bitcoin's performance. So what was this? This was the whole Bitcoin bull market's first cup gold nugget. We said it was the biggest squeeze ever in Bitcoin. And we said you want to be net leverage long during this period. And you would have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight up green candles to 64,000 from a number that was around here. So remember, this is Bitcoin divided by IXIC. So Bitcoin has been outperforming the NASDAQ in percentage terms broadly, but it's turning down. It's turning down. But it actually ran out of time for making that target over there. So it's late. It's late, and that can often mean it can underperform. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how far this falls. Because many people want to always say Bitcoin is a tech proxy. The big opportunities, short pharma, they can't afford the healthcare system at the price levels it is. Find key farmers. If you want to check it out with us, join our community. Oil, we think is a short if you're going long gold. I know many people go, I don't want to short oil. Inflation. It's stagflation. It's a killing the economy, consumer wrecked. And the inflation, the Rockefeller tax is the thing they always let fall to make affordability of living better. It is like a thermostat. It is the liquid thermostat. When we had absolute housing boom, it was made $130 oil because everyone was stuffed with riches and wealth and releasing equity on houses that were pumping and buying new cars. They could skim a huge amount on the oil side. Everyone was traveling, flying, private jets, woohoo, buying extra cars, motorcycles, you name it. It adjusts violently. It's the most sensitive to consumer rectness of the commodities. You've also seen a turn in coffee to the downside. You've seen orange juice got slammed. Some of the guys were showing me in the community. Shout out to Mr. Mariah T, etc., etc. So commodities got hammered in terms of all of that. So there's a risk-offy vibe. There is that risk-offy vibe right now. I don't know how far this pullback for Bitcoin goes, but there is a risk-offy vibe. Stop the sharing. Do I think there's a good chance for a Dow gold parity in the next year? Maybe I should do it the other way around. Start with gold. Let's get some more history on. We've done this one before. You can see he's been working here. So this is how good an upside gold has. So this is currently on log scale. That's how it looks arithmetically, just so that everyone's clear. So this is gold divided by the culture of equity in a financialization of everything world, as the financialization aspect has to be unwound in essentially a bankruptcy, which will never be called a full bankruptcy, but a right sizing of America. You heard that phrase right here, right me. It's the first time, just like we used reset, and then the WEF came and parked their tanks and started using reset in our logo. So we're there first, the right sizing of America. And by the way, that's the downsizing, the violent downsizing of Europe and UK as well. And I don't wish it on anyone. It just is what it is. So that's arithmetic, that's logarithmic. That is how lowly valued gold is right now. It's only ever really been much lower in the 90s to the 2000s, the dot-com boom, and in the post-war era, when they fixed gold. I think it was 42, and then it went 88, it then went 35, and then went 42, and then I think it went 800 in the price. That's when it was really high valued. This is a beautiful rounding bottom. We have just begun. And you actually haven't had a reach the other side moment. So this is the extreme high zone. Everything above here is a sell for gold, buy the Dow. Sell gold, buy Dow. 1897, 1902, 1929, 1930s, 1980, sell gold, buy the Dow. If you'd sold gold at $800 and bought the Dow, you would have done absolutely brilliantly. Over here, below the green line, is buy gold, dump the Dow. You should have done it in the 30, 29, 28, 29 when they were at the peak height of the Dow. You should have done it in the early 60s was your best deal. 2000s was your next best deal. And now you're getting another chance. You got your 2011 run. You didn't even get to the halfway mark. That's the halfway line. It's log scale, remember. Take those paintings off. You didn't even get to the halfway mark. That's why I've said many, many times, you haven't experienced a full bull market in gold yet, unless you were born before 1980, that you were cognizant of 1980. Like you needed to be 10 years old at minimum just to remember it. And ideally, economically literate to read a newspaper about it, 20 years old. That would make you pretty old today. That's where you are. So the question was, do we ever hit one? Well, you hit one in 1980, and you've never been this financially leveraged ever, and the markets have never been that financially leveraged ever. I think you surpass one, but I think it's as much about the market correction and the devastation of the consumer and it all being hoovered up. And I think eventually, gold is like truth, guys. They don't want you to know truth. So a couple of key points I'm going to let you know. Those that watched the Lynette Zhang video, one of the best points she makes is pegging it to gold is not convertibility to gold. If you can't go and say, I will take the gold ounce, here's your derivative item, your US dollar note, your CBDC token, it's not backed. Not convertible, not backed. It's a peg. Big difference. If you say, yeah, no, we want you to trust us because we got some gold and now you use this, but that's not the gold. Yeah, but it's backed. We set it at this price value. Oh, but you're going to sell the gold and you're going to keep issuing more of these. And how are we going to know that you've done that? Just like Vietnam War, when the French started to ask for their gold off the Americans. Okay, so you know how the game works. So let's see. We should be tunneling. Bloody hell, I can't do this thing because that thing gets in the way. So let's just show you that gold one more time. That is the log scale. I should leave it on and just ignore the tunneling, I suppose, because it's just so messy. They hide these things. So that is, without being log scaled, this is how low you are. The gold bull market is but just a twinkle in your eye. That's with the log scale. That's the midpoint there. This didn't even run. The 2011 high did not even run anywhere near the midpoint. Look at that. You haven't experienced the gold market run. If 2011 was the only market you've had, I mean, it's small pippy. It's little pippy. And this is stallion pippy. Yeah? This is baby. 3-year infant pippy. Before the ritual cutting. You know? I think you do. Okay. Don't toss out the baby. Keep cost averaging. I hold 15%. Keep cost averaging. Miners will eventually come around. But costs did climb a great deal for them with the great inflation. So that's why they've not been pure profit. You know, their operation costs went up with the gold prices, but they are eventually getting to a point where they are considerably undervalued. This is the juniors. This is a bit of TA we did on that. But the juniors are yet to really do anything significant. And if we just do GDX, a little bit better. We've talked about our best gold trades. We were in one of the ones. We've got a handful of mines. I'll show you one. And that's done famously. Why? Because it's got an HVF. And I'm in it and I'm winning. And you could be in too. Why? Because we take the best fundamental industries with the best stories, but in actual fact, we first look for an HVF in those stories. And that's where it is. And you can draw this too with our tool. And that's why you're pulling back, because you just made second interim. I'm just going to make those events go away. There's too many lines on there. There you go. All mining. I'll even tell you where I think it's going. It's going to outperform to $10.16. Well. You could have been in it. You could have been in it to win it. Little primer in here, by the way. Am I sharing screen? I'm always shitting myself now. Yes, I am. There you go. So you're getting a weekend chat with Francis. Answer your questions. Ask me anything you like. There you go. Bum, bum, bum. Pops you go to your mama all the way to the second interim. Little bit of pullback season now. Possibly gold comes off. It might pull back a bit more, but it's going to run 10-16. First upside HVF in a new trend. Super overperformance potential. Yes, Orla, we're in it. There are others. There are others, but you don't know them. That means other macro miners with upside HVFs. That's right, that you too could be trading and winning on. Book a call, hit the link. By the way, you could be talking to someone today. There's availability in the diary. You could talk to someone today. You could talk tomorrow if you wanted to relax tomorrow. That's right. And we've got a US guy. We've got a South African signing guy. We've got a Scottish for the United Kingdom and European kind of guy. We've got them all. They're lovely people, all of them. I don't know which one I'd choose first. They're all awesome. So you can book a call and you can talk to them all. And you could get started and you could begin your journey today to getting better at finding things like this and understanding HVF method. You probably think you understand a bit already. Well, there's a lot more and you could get a lot more and you could learn a lot more and you could learn the confidence to trust the process instead of your gut feeling. When you want to snatch a profit, when you want to get out or you are oversizing, you could start feeling the change when you submit to a higher process. Yeah. Some of you will understand that. Many of you won't. Those that do know the value. If you're an engineer, if you're in IT and you're watching this right now, you're probably my guy. If you know, not to put the girls off, we love them and we have a few good ones, but you're probably male, you're probably a technician. in IT, tech, process or engineering and process focused, you're gonna eat this up and you're gonna change your wealth. You're gonna change your wealth. Get ready for that. Prepare not to become a dickhead. I need to coach you because you're gonna get rich potentially, providing you don't lose your head and hyper emotional. But generally, those people aren't. So there you go. Pull back at the second interim, run through the 10-16. You're going to have money problems of wealth. You're going to start thinking about tax problems. You're going to have a little bit of Georgia in your life, a little bit of Panama, maybe a little bit of moving around. Maybe you got kids. Who knows? Maybe a third world country will treat you better. That you think is a third world country will be less of a downdraft. It's actually not so much about what the level is. You'll think, oh, but that's a lower level standard of living. No, it isn't. There's more freedom. And you can be in the rich area with an amazing house and a good car where it's safe, just like you are here. But this place is going to have a major downdraft, and the extractors are going to come hard for you. They need to send soldiers to go attack Zelensky's enemy and provide him with all the that he needs to keep fighting and not wearing a suit. All of that good stuff. They need that, and they think you should pay. They don't in Brazil. They don't in South Africa. They don't in Paraguay. They don't in Thailand. You could go in there as a rich person and have lots of people ready to deliver servants. You'll be rich just by virtue of being, middle class European, middle class American. You need to start thinking the downdraft is going to be brutal. It's going to be brutal for all of them. When you get a cost-cutting cycle like America is starting, it never ends. It comes layer after layer. They've done 40 years of adding financialization of everything. What do you think happens to car prices when you no longer get a 7-year mortgage to pay off a car, or 40% off a car with a 50, maybe 40% balloon payment, let's say? That's the deals they're doing. What do you think happens to those depreciating assets? It's too many have been made. Car makers are going to go down. Employees are going to be thrown out. This is going to be brutal. This is going to be like no other recession, depression you've seen. This will be the real one because it's the first time, and everyone will go, oh, but you said that last time, or you said that now. No, we called COVID inadvertently by calling the single-digit oil, and we called a Zelensky fallout by calling the military-industrial complex cannot get the largesse anymore. America's credit cards being pulled. We actually, by getting to the core of the issue, have probably explained why little fallouts in politics is happening. It's true. This presentation went out a week ago, guys. And the focus was the biggest expenditure line item in America. And who's sucking on that tit? Zelensky, Europe, and the United Kingdom. That's who is. And America's writing checks for that. They don't want to do it anymore. They can't do it anymore. That's why the friendship is changing. You're suddenly finding out who your true friends are. That's facts. That's how it works. Hello from the Socialist Republic of France. Yes. Much sympathy. Enjoy the finest socialist wines until the vineyard owners are told that they haven't contributed enough to the shanty dwellers imported from Libya to come and live. And shanty towns should be made amongst the vineyards so that we can have a greater living, a greater equitable society. We need a further more equitable society. You can't live there in your largesse, in your vineyard with all that space and fresh air and living that upper middle crust existence. It's time. It's time you recognize it's not just you on this planet. You need to give. You need to share. We're talking about equity, Ubuntu spirit. This is not your country. These people are French too. That's right. There's no place for Europeans. I never approve. The number twos get their checks. Yep. 500 of you on, 293 likes. Guys, I'm going to finish this stream. I'm going to take 2 more questions and then I'm going to let you go. Let's see if there's anything final. We've finished with energy. Don't forget, book a call. You could start today. The stuff is happening and it's real. All that stuff. I'm the nut who kept upsetting you saying you need to leave Europe. Now you know they're going to be raising bonds to build a defense force. How do you think that's going to be on your services, your charges, your hospital, the NHS, all these other things once they start sending troops there? By the way, they hate looking after their troops, the British. They live in worse barracks than the immigrants that stay in five-star hotels, same as in under Biden in all of that. Long SASSA grants, short NASDAQ. Larry Williams also predicts a 3 to 5 year downturn end of year next year. Benner cycle predicts 2026, then 5-7 downturn. Trump gets the blame. Yes, they will make it a center right thing, but the guy's got no choice. The credit card's been pulled. How do short oil? You can short oil on any trading platform. We have ones we like and that we give a little bit of additional chat about that are inside ours. We use a combination of Scandinavian Capital Markets, link below. The value of that is you can get around the leverage that you are restricted on in UK, the nanny state, and Australia, and Europe, and even America by participating in Sweden, a very stable place, but not signed up for the EU rewards. And also with a license in Cyprus as well, and other licenses coming up. And you can trade platinum, gold, quite a few things there, and even some cryptos. That's one of them. Look in our links below. I also occasionally, when I'm using crypto to do a traditional market, sometimes use SimpleFX, and occasionally IG of the United Kingdom, that's broadly available throughout Europe now. That is a CFD. And who else do I use? For traditional trading? We have another one, and the name has escaped me, which gives great leverage. If you're outside the EU, as I am with you can get 100x leverage as well. So, and they also had the Hong Kong dollar, which was not readily available on many other platforms. It's in the links below of our YouTube. Are Ukraine's natural resources really no longer an American interest? No, I think they will get some, the Americans. Otherwise, someone else will. So I've been to Ukraine 7 times, guys. Yep, I travel a bit. Can't tell you that. I've been to Ukraine around about 7 times. And it's a beautiful country with real great soil. So the yellow and blue, the yellow at the bottom and the blue is our golden wheat fields. They have great soil. They have 30% of the world's best soil, and the blue sky. That is the Ukraine. It's a simple flag, blue sky, golden fields. And that is, when you arrive, you'll see that in the airports, 32% of the world's highest quality soil. That's why China has apparently rented some ground for farming, etc., etc., etc. It's great farming land. It's a big piece of land. But let's also remember, this was all part of the USSR. Ukraine is quite a recent creation. And even before the USSR, Katerina the Great sent her general soldiers to go populate this big open area that was part of the original Russia. And they got a piece of land if they took their wives and set up and made a farm. It's always been Russia. It's always been Russia. It's like I told your cousins that you're a bastard and it's time they fight you. It's always been part of your family. That you're a Smith and they're a Smith too. Bread basket, yes, great soil, great farming, organic. Okay, any other questions? Take it easy, brother. No hurry, can save us. Are Ukraine's natural resources really no longer an American interest? Live cattle futures looking good. Sell one crude oil contract. That's how you can short oil. Jimmy carbs are not real food, just filler. Okay, guys, great talking to you. Thank you for participating. There's 477 of you. Remember the message. This is reset. All these things you don't. Here's the big closing statement for you. And pay attention. It's important. When you watch a stream of events slowly, you don't notice the frog is being boiled. If I took you 10 years ago and told you half the things that have happened, you would believe me in terms of what's coming in terms of reset. And you would understand that there's a far higher level of governance beyond all of this, the stage managed, because some of this is, we jumped on because of Zelensky-Vance, Trump, Raji Baji, and this organic argument. That is a friction of a higher element. One guy thinks he's entitled to money and you owe it to him to hold back the tide of Russia, and he's holding up the world for you. That's what he thinks. and he can keep going around with his begging bowl and steal half the money and do nefarious things and lots of side hustles and kill as many Slavs of his own nation and hopefully as many of a rival nation in a whittling down of good Orthodox white European males, which is totally unnecessary. He thinks that, and the others think we can't give money away anymore. As per what I showed you in my slides, before all of this happened, the turn in the debt market is the pulling of the credit card. It is the beginning of a bankruptcy cycle. You want to know when reset? It started. You've now got to live within your means. You had a 250 grand revolving overdraft that every year you got a new 250 grand to spend, and you were earning 100 grand. And now all of a sudden they've said, sorry, we're not doing that contract with you anymore. You need to live on 100 grand, and now you have to pay back all the 250s for the last 40 years that you weren't servicing. Good luck. You're going to eat biscuits, and you're going to live on 10 grand, and you're going to have to make a 90 grand payment for 30 years. How do you think the quality of life's going to go? Going from 250 grand to 10. It's a whole different ballgame. You're going to be selling stuff off to retire debt. You're going to be selling things off. You're going to be cutting services. You're going to be retrenching all the nefarious, dumbass jobs that don't do any real value add. You're going to be, you're going to find out the amount of waste, the scale of waste that has existed on an unending basis. And that's before the full curtain gets pulled back, where you see the real rot. So there's layers and layers to the fullness of the bankruptcy, the scale of this bankruptcy. Now you can sit and be that guy who goes through a bankruptcy process and earns less interest, gets all the legal letters, gets threatened, has people knocking on your doors at odd hours of night, or you can just duck and leave and say, not my baby. I never signed up for this. Not my war. Not my ZIO contract contributions to Israel. Not my ZIO contributions to Upper Israel, Ukraine. Not my job to be paying for Europe's self-defense. None of it. I do not agree, and I will not ride the downside, the devaluation of my currency, and everything else that's going to come as part of the great unwind of a super financially leveraged system. I never approved it. I do not stand for it. I don't vote for the people that do not represent me, that continue to overspend. There is no sound money of any form. And therefore, I do not comply. And I will not see this out. And I will not feel the downdraft of something that I never felt the updraft for in the first place. That's where I'm standing. It's not equitable. It's not fair. And don't lay this white guilt. Don't lay this straight guilt. Don't lay this male guilt. Don't lay any of this gender guilt. I am absolutely immune to all your cultural Marxism. You can go swivel. You've decided to destroy this country. I'm already pissed off. I need to move now because of you. You deserve everything that's coming for you. I'm going to actively undermine you in everything I do, and I'm not going to fund you in any form or way. There's a massive difference between morality and legality. I work off a system that is the duality of morality, decency, and common ethics towards my fellow man, and absolute deception towards deceptive entities such as government, oligarchical megacorps that are all in it, stealing your data, cranky little terms and conditions, spying on you and everybody else. You need to be an utter bastard to them. You got to learn to lie through your teeth for the first time in your life whenever dealing with that side, and be utterly decent and thoroughly within your spirit and decency when you're dealing with a fellow man that needs to be brought up to pace to understand what is being projected, what is being forced down your throat. I do not comply. I do not accept. It is not my contract. I was born a natural human. That is who I am. I'm going to have an amazing life. You will not spoil it. And I will go somewhere else if I'm forced to, but I'm already angry for you that you forced this relocation to me. However, I will not carry a burden that you created for me whilst building nothing but nefarious gain wealth for yourself and passing that shit pile for me to handle and process. I do not accept. I do not accept. If you're of that state of mind, if that closing statement means anything to you, you belong in our community, you deserve to build wealth, you deserve to preserve your wealth, you deserve to find out what we do to preserve your wealth, and you deserve to have the maximum amount of freedoms in a totalitarian, overreaching, over-extractionary, usury times. And believe you me, it's coming, and everything I do in presentations ends up leading to something event that happens that shows we are guessing right. We're not geniuses. We just guess right because we're passionate, we care, we watch, we observe, and we work out what the repercussions of a turn in the debt cycle truly means. And it was simple and it was obvious to me. And I said it, I stated it, I did the slides, I posted it, and here you see the natural repercussions of this right here in front of you. If you like people with vision, if you want a leader with vision, you belong in our community. This is what you all need to stand. This was done before. This work was done before. I didn't sit here on my weekend hustling these slides together overnight. I was out swimming and enjoying my life. I already done it. You want preparation? You need to be ahead of the game. You need to understand the game. This is what you need to understand. Everybody, 473 of you watching, I'm telling you hard and true, straight from the heart, not from the head. That's how I can talk so fast without even stopping. It is pure continuum. It pours out of me, out of rage, out of anger, out of every flipping pore. You're being crooked, cheated, lied to, scammed in every single way. Inflation is tax, tax is tax, unrealized capital gains is tax, everything you do is tax, everything is taking from your energy, keeping you doing things you don't want to do so that you have less time to do the things you want to do. I'm here to give you back your fucking life. You deserve it and you belong in the community. Get on with it. You could start today. Here's my message to you. Understand, it's a weekend. It's the beginning still of the year. You could be so far different by the Christmas that comes. But understand one thing. It's coming at you whether you are ready or not. This ball is swinging and it's wrecking. And you'll be ready or you won't. Till next time, I love you. I say goodbye. Links are all below. Book a call. Do what you want. Join us for live trading day. I don't care. It's a community of the willing. No one is forced to do anything. You need to rationally understand. You need to perceive it and you need to feel it. If you can't feel it, you're not ready and it's okay. Enjoy everything we give for free. Till next time, I love you and leave you. Bye.